In the quiet stillness of the garage, Charlie works carefully on the airplane that his wife, Sarah, had given him as a birthday gift. Sarah steps in, interrupting his work, to let him know that she'll soon be leaving for a business conference in London. She invites him once more to join her, but Charlie gently refuses, explaining that he has too much work to finish. Work. Some time later, Charlie makes his way to the CIA headquarters. On his way to the decryption and analysis department, he passes through each layer of security scanners that he invented and finally gets to work. Suddenly, he receives a message from Inquiline, the mysterious figure he has been secretly communicating with for years. As always, Inquiline has valuable classified intelligence to offer, though this time, there's something different in their tone. He is warned that the documents could endanger the CIA. Charlie guesses Istanbul, but Inquiline dismisses him. He tries to crack the code, but fails. After lunch, Charlie returns to his office and learns from Sarah that she has arrived in London. But Charlie already knows, having tracked her. They speak little, as he is eager to return to the documents. Unable to crack the code, he moves his computer to the restricted area, where a more advanced system accelerates his progress. After some effort, he unlocks the documents, leaving him shocked. The files reveal a covered-up drone strike disguised as a bombing. News clips report 150 casualties, including French and Danish forces. The operation was led by Chief Moore, Charlie's boss. That night, Charlie calls Sarah. She doesn't answer, so he leaves a voicemail. The next day, Charlie arrives at the office to find Moore waiting. Moore leads Charlie to O'Brien's office. O'Brien is the new director. She informs him of a terrorist attack in a London hotel, with Sarah among the victims. Charlie refuses to believe it and reaches for his phone. So Moore turns on the TV to show the news. The reporter says 4 terrorists stormed the hotel, took 4 hostages, and killed 2. Moore plays the hotel's security footage, showing the chaos and confirming Sarah was a victim. At home, Charlie finds reporters swarming and police holding them back. A friend helps Charlie get inside without disturbance. The next day, Charlie confronts Moore and Caleb, suspicious of the events. He doubts the terrorists could bypass London's thousands of cameras and drive through traffic. Moore promises an investigation, but Caleb sends him home. The next day, Charlie goes to the airport to collect Sarah's body and belongings. At home, he opens the suitcase and finds a gift Sarah had bought for him. The gift triggers a breakdown. Back at work, Charlie uses the restricted computer to hack hotel and street cameras, creating a timeline for his superiors. The terrorists stole a vehicle, entered the hotel via service areas, erased all traces, and a meeting went wrong, leading to a shootout that killed 1 guard and left another critically injured. Desperate to escape unnoticed, the terrorists slipped into the conference room and seized several hostages. Sarah was taken after she tried to help the other attendants flee. Meanwhile, Charlie ran voice and facial scans, uncovering the identities of the 4 terrorists: Mishka from Moscow, Lawrence, a former South African Special Forces operative, the mercenary Horst, and Gretchen, once an intelligence officer. When Caleb and Moore reacted with surprising calm, Charlie realized they already knew. They dismissed him with claims of ongoing work and ordered him to see a therapist. The next day, Charlie hid a chip inside his ID badge and slipped through security undetected. In his office, he printed the classified files and used a skimmer on the printer to capture a digital copy. That night, he drifted into a bar, fixated on a jukebox. By morning, he confronted his superiors again, armed with the printed evidence. He laid out Moore's covert atrocities, the bombing of a Syrian hospital and an Allied base in Yemen that killed thousands. Then he threatened to take everything to the director, revealing he had already activated a Deadman protocol in Yemen that killed thousands. Then he threatened to take everything to the director, revealing he had already activated a Deadman protocol. Charlie reveals the final part of his plan, a Deadman switch. If he fails to enter a code every 5 hours, all the evidence will automatically reach major news outlets. In return for staying silent, he demands full CIA training, fake passports, cash, a weapon, and information about the people who killed Sarah. After the meeting, the pressure overwhelms him, and he throws up in his car. Back at the office, Moore insists the Deadman switch is nothing but a bluff, but Caleb warns that they can't gamble on it. If the trigger turns out to be fake, they'll expose it, and later, make Charlie's training accident look fatal. Charlie arrives at a CIA training facility, greeted by Colonel Henderson. At the shooting range, his aim is poor, needing extreme closeness to hit targets, but his bomb-making skills are astonishingly fast, earning Henderson's approval. Next, Henderson tests Charlie's ability to memorize his new identity under stress, tossing him around until he can recite it flawlessly, and they finish by issuing his new passports. That night, Henderson visits Charlie's room, reminding him he isn't a killer. Charlie insists he seeks justice. Henderson hands him a gun, asking him to aim at his chest, but Charlie's trembling hands force him to lower it. Meanwhile, back at the office, agents spend hours decrypting the CD, discovering Charlie had been bluffing about the Deadman switch. They alert their superiors, unaware Charlie is spying. The chip on his badge was actually a bug he planted on the files he'd given them. Moore calls Henderson to have Charlie arrested, but he has already vanished. After Moore discovers the bug on the files, he confronts Charlie, calling it treason. Charlie discreetly removes his earpiece before boarding a plane. Upon arriving in London, he passes through customs and heads toward Paris. The CIA flags his fake passport, prompting Moore to send Henderson after him. In Paris, Charlie rents a hotel near the restaurant Gretchen frequents. When she appears, he begins tracking her phone and spends the day observing her building. As she leaves, he slips inside with a tenant's exit, then uses an online guide to pick Gretchen's lock. Inside her apartment, Charlie photographs her schedule and discovers a gun, which he takes. His tracker alerts him to Gretchen's imminent return, and he waits nervously by the stairs. But when she arrives, he cannot pull the trigger. Frustrated, he retreats to the hotel, imagining Sarah is waiting for him. After regaining his composure, he studies the photos closely and begins to uncover Gretchen's. Charlie discovers from his photos that Gretchen has been visiting the hospital frequently. By hacking into her medical records, he learns she suffers from severe allergies. The next morning, he buys large amounts of flowers and waits at a cafe until he spots her, then follows her to the hospital. While Gretchen undergoes tests, the doctor steps out due to a malfunctioning computer screen. Charlie slips in disguised as a doctor, locks her inside the machine, and begins filling the chamber with pollen. Gretchen panics, and though staff hear the commotion, the door is locked. As the allergic reaction weakens her, Charlie demands to know where to find Horst, the man who shot Sarah. She's unable to speak, so he opens the chamber, only for her to shove him into a desk. A violent struggle erupts, with both crashing into furniture. Charlie draws his gun, but Gretchen overpowers him and escapes through the door. He chases her into the street, and just as he raises his weapon, a car slams into her. Sickened by the sight, he forces himself to approach, retrieves her phone, then flees and discards his lab coat in the trash. Back at his hotel, Charlie scrubs away the blood and quickly packs. That night, he slips into a bus station and buys a ticket to Marseille. News of Gretchen's death soon reaches the CIA, and O'Brien confronts Moore, who can only admit she seems to have been killed by one of their own. Meanwhile, Charlie drowns his guilt in alcohol at a bar. For a moment, he thinks he sees Sarah dancing, but it's only a stranger who resembles her. His illusion shatters when he spots Henderson closing in. Panic takes over, he shoves through the crowd, escapes the bar, and sprints through the streets until he can hide in another one. But Henderson tracks him there as well. Charlie bolts into the bathroom, only to realize there's no escape route. Reluctantly, he returns to the bar to face Henderson, who explains he found him using Gretchen's phone. After a brief exchange, Charlie reveals a timer on his own phone and darts out, moments before a bomb detonates in the bathroom. The explosion plunges the place into chaos, allowing Charlie to vanish. The tracker on his phone goes dead. By morning, Charlie contacts a tenant for help and secures a way out, boarding a cargo plane bound for Turkey. In Istanbul, Charlie visits a restaurant and texts Inquiline. Spotting a man's phone ring, he moves to approach, but a woman blocks him, telling him to check his own phone. Once he leaves, she confirms she is Inquiline. Already aware of his wife, she instructs him to hide his hat and backpack in a shopping bag, then pretend to browse before meeting her at a garage. Shortly after, she picks him up and drives him to her home, revealing her past. 6 years ago, she became a hacker after her husband, a CIA asset who also worked for Russian intelligence and was the original Inquiline, died under suspicious circumstances officially labeled an accident. At her home, she admits it's the longest she's stayed in one place and confesses she's tired of running. If the Russians ever catch her, she has a gun to end her life. They discuss the case. Horst leads mercenary operations, Lawrence is an arms dealer, and Mishka travels frequently, sharing everything online. Inquiline volunteers to pose as an arms seller to get close to Lawrence. Reviewing the photos, Charlie and Inquiline notice a woman with Mishka. Facial recognition leads them to her Instagram account, confirming she's in Spain. The next day, Caleb orders his team to monitor the terrorists closely to locate Charlie. Meanwhile, O'Brien confronts Moore, demanding he stop running Black Ops without her approval. Moore gives the same response he once gave her predecessor: she has his full support, though his tone suggests otherwise. After the meeting, O'Brien gets into her car, where her assistant shows her a photo of Henderson spotted in Spain. Realizing Moore sent him, she dispatches one of her own agents to shadow Henderson. Meanwhile, Charlie and Inquiline track Mishka by hacking into a hotel's security cameras. Charlie heads to Madrid, booking a room in the same hotel. He discovers Mishka frequently swims in the rooftop pool that bridges two buildings. At the same time, Henderson begins closing in on the area. The next morning, Charlie constructs a device meant to help him capture Mishka and hides it inside the hotel. Later, he tails Mishka to the bar, unaware that Henderson has entered the lobby. When Charlie spots a familiar, suspicious man at the bar, he realizes someone is following him. Inquiline warns Charlie that Henderson and another agent are closing in and gives him escape directions. A tense chase unfolds. Henderson nearly catches him, but the other agent intervenes, tackling Henderson in the laundry room. They violently clash, throwing each other around until Henderson pins the agent's head in a washing machine. The agent draws a gun and shoots Henderson, who seizes it and fires back. Charlie hesitates, but Inquiline reminds him to flee. The next day, O'Brien questions Moore about Charlie. Moore claims he's on bereavement leave and is released, unaware O'Brien has hotel footage. Caleb and his team review the same footage and realize Charlie had assistants. They trace his encrypted chats and uncover messages from Inquiline, eventually discovering the file of the original dead agent, concluding that his wife has assumed the role. That night, Charlie and Inquiline share a bed for companionship, but are awakened by her screeching birds and the sight of agents approaching on security cameras. They escape through a hidden tunnel, spotting a drone overhead. Sneaking into another building, they evade the agents and leave the neighborhood just before it's stormed. All files are deleted by the computer, leaving nothing behind. Running down the beach to Inquiline's car, they are spotted by the drone. A gunfight ensues, and agents pursue them even by boat. After a long chase, their car is damaged and comes to a stop. Inquiline is mortally wounded. Charlie moves her body to the passenger seat and takes the wheel, driving until he finally loses their pursuers. Later, he parks the car in a garage and kisses. Charlie bids Inquiline goodbye and the next day poses as an arms dealer to arrange a meeting with Lawrence. He buys new electronics and travels to Romania, where in an abandoned building he records his face and hacks a Berlin security feed, making the CIA believe he's there. When Lawrence arrives, he finds a ringing phone on a chair. Charlie instructs him to check a box containing bombs. Any sudden move will trigger them. Seeing a photo of Sarah in the box, Lawrence turns, and Charlie appears behind him, demanding Horst's location and promising to deactivate the bombs if he cooperates. Lawrence reveals Horst operates in Russian waters, receiving deliveries at a Baltic seaport, and communicates only via secret codes from his men, all stored on his phone. Charlie grabs the phone and leaves, hearing the bombs detonate behind him. The CIA receives news of Lawrence's death, realizing they were watching fake footage. Later in a Russian hotel, Charlie imagines Sarah with him and solves a puzzle she left, revealing a sweet message. The next morning, at the port, he spots a suspicious vehicle, sends a code to Horst's men, and photographs a boat linked to it. After buying tools, he tracks the yacht using its registration number and studies Horst's likely sea routes. Approaching the boat the next morning, Charlie is knocked out and taken aboard the yacht, where he finally confronts Horst, who is aware of the earlier bombings. Horst hands Charlie a gun, expecting him to act, but Charlie refuses. Suddenly, Charlie reveals he has hacked the yacht, CIA-administered, and redirects it toward Finland. The Finnish Navy and Interpol surround the yacht, arresting Horst and his crew. Later, O'Brien holds a press conference announcing the capture of all rogue CIA agents. Henderson praises Charlie for his work. After visiting Sarah's grave, Charlie returns home and finally takes a plane ride, finding a measure of peace.
To hack into it and send it to Finland. Soon the yacht is surrounded by the Finnish Navy and Interpol, who immediately arrest Horst and his men. Sometime later O'Brien gives a press conference to announce they've arrested all the dirty agents that have been using the CIA's resources for illegal activities. Charlie is approached by Henderson, who tells him he's proud of what he's done. After visiting Sarah's grave, Charlie goes home and finally takes the plane for a ride. Make sure to